Hello everybody, once again this is Draven from the US Burning Legion server, and today I'll be going over one of probably my favorite classes and specs in the game, Frost Death Knights. I'm currently on the 4.2 PTR with my copied character Draven Noi, and I'm just going to go over what they changed, as well as how it's going to affect us, and then also just a general DPS guide, rotation, glyphs, talent, setup. Alright, first let's go over what they changed. The big hit to Frost Death Knights is our Obliterate got nerfed, a little bit of damage. This in itself isn't a big deal. However, what really sucks for two-handed Death Knights is the passive weapon damage from Might of the Frozen Waste was nerfed. That hurts. So expect dual wield to come out on top. That's what I got when I messed around with a pre-made character. Dual wield Frost with Frost Presence Reforged for haste gave the highest numbers, followed slightly by dual wield Frost Unholy Presence Reforged for haste. As you can see looking at the lower left hand corner of the screen in the chat box, when I was in dual wield Frost Presence and Reforging for haste, after 5 minutes it gave me 6.84 million damage and 22.8k DPS. As where dual wield Unholy Presence Reforged for haste only came out with 6.72 mil and 22.5k DPS. So it's barely even different. This is a screenshot from the absolute best test I did on the PTR as a two-handed Frost Death Knight on the decked out tune that I imported. And as you can see, it only came out to be 6.47 mil, so about 400,000 less damage, and 21.5, almost 21.6k DPS. Again, this was over 5 minutes as well. Just like all my other tests, I used the exact same number of cooldowns, basically the exact rotation, and unfortunately this one just could not keep up. It's marginal, so if you can't score dual wield weapons, two-handed will be viable. I was unable to test Unholy because the trinket they provided me just would not proc as Unholy. Maybe I'll get onto that later. But there's the numbers for two-handed. So that's what I'm going to be rolling. You guys should probably start preparing for that now. If you have some solid one-handers in your bags, dust them off, rune forge them, and be ready to use them come 4.2. Alright, those are the real big hits that we had going into 4.2. However, let's talk about just general Cataclysm Frost Death Knight gameplay and how to do it successfully. First and foremost, let's look at stats. Our stat priority is going to be strength, followed by the hit to the cap, which is 8%, then expertise to the cap of 26%, and this is where people differ. Some people will go haste, mastery, crit, as where others will go mastery, haste, crit. My only advice to you is to try them both. Reforge as much as you can, all your crit and all your haste, in favor of mastery. Come to the dummy, figure out your rotation, and do a test. Go back, reforge all your mastery and your crit into haste, and give it another test. Personally, for myself, my way of playing, my rotation, I found that playing two-handed Frost and Unholy Presence, reforging for mastery, gave me the highest numbers. That's what works for me. I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody. Again, suggest that you try both of them. You can try it in a raid environment, but that might take a week or two. My character is a 361 item level. He's only got one piece of heroic tier, a 359 weapon. So he's not OP or nothing like that. So this will give a decent test and a decent idea for other Death Knights of similar gear out there to what they can, should, or what I'm not doing. So let's continue on. Next, let's go over talents. Basically, I took the obvious. No need for Nerve to Cold Steel, so I took the other two. No need for Lichborn or On a Pale Horse, took the other two. All three of these ones are pretty good. All four of these talents are pretty solid. Chillblaze is a talent that you really have to ask yourself, do I need it? Look at the content you're running. If you're running a 25-man, good chances is that you have enough other people throwing out slows and roots and crap like that, and you won't need it. However, if like me, you're dealing with 10-man content, I personally like knowing that I have that utility. Fights like Magma, Cho'Gall, especially Cho'Gall, Maloriak, Heroic Maloriak, Sometimes you just need to apply a slow to more than one person. So I personally, I take it regardless. Yes, it's a DPS loss because those 2 points could come over here in a butchery. But again, if you're doing 10-man content, you don't have enough people throwing out slows, you really might want to take this. I highly advise it. And down here, Might of the Frozen Waste, for obvious reasons. We're not playing dual wield, we don't need TOT. And then of course Howling Blast. Who doesn't love Howling Blast? Going into Blood, I took Bladed Armor because it's going to net more DPS than Butchery. Butchery, I do all my tests in 5 minutes, and after doing the math, Butchery only yields 120 runic power over that 5 minutes. So that's 3 3/4 of a Frost Strike if you glyph it. And doing the math, that's a decent amount of damage. However, you can't beat the raw attack power you get from Bladed Armor. In the Unholy Tree, Epidemic, this is something that you don't have to take. There's no reason for you to take this except for the fact it lets you apply 1 play strike every minute instead of hitting 2, because you'll be able to bounce back and forth between play strike and outbreak. Personally, I like this. I like knowing that I don't have to keep such a tight watch on my diseases. It's a little bit more forgiving if I'm not paying attention, and if I'm calling stuff out, if I'm raid leading, it's really nice to have that on my side. Now for Virulence, I was really up in the air for a long time between Butchery and Virulence, and although Butchery will give you more DPS on a straight single target fight, think Chimeron. When it comes to adds and stuff like that being involved, and there's plenty of fights with them, Virulence just takes the cake. Like I said, Butchery puts out 120 runic power, so 3 3/4 of a Frost Strike, and for me that ended up being like 70k damage on average. As for Virulence, it only came out to like 50k damage, single target. However, fights like Halfist, where you have those whelps up, they're going to be up for a long time, all those other drakes, those diseases are going to stack, that extra damage is going to stack up, and it's going to give you the edge. So personally, I take Virulence over Butchery. And again, I like to take Chillblains because I don't like to leave it to chance. I don't like to trust other people to do a job that I can do. Let's go ahead and move on to Glyphs. The obvious, Howling Blast, I no longer use Icy Touch. I just don't use it. Unless there's like real big threat of like a dangerous CC getting broken, I don't use it. And even then, I probably don't use it, even though I should. But Icy Touch is just so much weaker than Howling Blast, so this is what I take. Obliterate, obvious damage, one of our obvious glyph, one of our top damage dealers. And Frost Strike, again, obvious choice, less runic power, get more of them out in a shorter time. It's awesome. As for minor or major glyphs, I took Glyph of Blood Boil, which I don't need at all. I in no way need it. And I'll go ahead and put on Anti-Magic Shell now. Take Anti-Magic Shell. You no longer, with all the Howling Blasts that we could throw out, you will never, ever use a Blood Boil. Ever. When you're playing Frost. Hungering Cold. This was really good in 4.1 before they put a cast time on it. That cast time kind of kicked us in the dick. Not gonna lie. But it still got its uses. You know, cast time or not, you gotta freeze some ads real fast. If you gotta break some people out of worshipping on Cho'Gall, it's got its uses. And it's nice to know you don't have to give up Frost Strike to do it. And then lastly, Pestilence. Again, it's the only real other option we have. As for minors, these are completely subjective. The only one I would even highly recommend is Horn of Winter, just so that it lasts for an extra minute. We don't have a lot of other choices. Blood Tap's a good one. I don't need Death's Embrace. So go ahead and take Blood Tap, Horn of Winter, and Path of Frost, I would guess. If you PvP a lot, maybe Resilient Grip. But that's really our only options. That covers the glyphs, the talents, and the spec. Now let's just talk about general gameplay, little mechanics, tricks, and rotation. This is part 1 of a 2-part video. My next part will be all the DPS testing. I don't have enough time to load on YouTube in one video. So let's wrap this one out. Might as well go over macros. You'll see a lot of my bars have alt button macros, where I hold the alt button and they change into something else. That's my particular style of play. If you want an example, this is how you would make one. The modifier, :alt. That's how you'd make one. Alright, the only macro that is really recommended, in my opinion, is it's just a straight DPS macro, one that has your potion, your Pillar of Frost, and your racial if you have one. This macro also doubles up as my unholy DPS macro, but something about this macro you should know. Always make sure that your Golem blood potion is ahead of your Pillar of Frost. The reason being is if you read Pillar of Frost, it calls upon the power of Frost to increase the Death Knight strength by 20%. That means 20% of the strength that you have at the time it is cast. So, if you use your Golem blood potion before you cast it, you're going to get more out of that 20% as opposed to hitting it afterwards. For example, say you have 1000 strength. You know, you cast Pillar of Frost, you gain 20% of that, 200, you're now at 1200 strength. That's pretty cool. That's nice. However, if you have that 1000 base strength plus the 1200 from your potion, that's 2200. 20% of that is, hold on, it's like 500, pretty sure. You're just going to benefit more from hitting your potion before hitting your Pillar of Frost. That's the only quote-unquote trick we got. We don't have to worry about the blood rune clipping with blood tap anymore. We don't have blood runes. I might as well go over my add-ons and what everything is to avoid people asking me on YouTube. Up here's an add-on called Titan Bar. It's just a little nifty utility add-on. It's got a lot of cool information up there. My bars are set up like this thanks to Bartender 4, and they are all circles and have this nice blue outline because of an add-on called Button Facade. Over here in the bottom left-hand corner where my chat box is, I use a chat box add-on called Pratt. It's got some nifty little features. Not necessary, but I enjoy it. My map's in the middle. The art around it is called Sexy Map. Right here is where my recount goes, but it's currently broken on the PTR. And then over this section where this bag is, that's where my omen would normally go. Take up like this whole area. I have my DBM like right up here. Sometimes I'll put it down here, just depends on the fight and how many bars there's going to be. And power auras. Power auras are a very, very nifty way of tracking things. For me, I'll go ahead and put them all up and just explain them. These two simply tell me that my target does not have Frost Fever or Blood Plague. Now, if I was to hit Outbreak right now, they both disappear. Or they should disappear. Doggone it. I'll figure it out later. But they'll disappear whenever I cast Outbreak and put diseases on the target. Over here, this is just basically my big cooldown compilation. The two on the outside tell me that Rune of the Fallen Crusader is procced. The one on the bottom tells me I have 3 stacks of my 4-piece bonus debuff or buff. This one right in the middle, that tells me I have 1900 increased haste or increased strength from Heart of the Rage. Rage red. I figured it would work like that. And this top one tells me that my crushing weight, 1900 haste, is procced. Ideally, I want all of these to be showing before I summon my ghoul or before I hit any, real hefty cooldowns like Empower Rune Weapon or my DPS macro, all that stuff. Ideally, I want them all up. Not always going to happen that way. Sometimes you have to make a choice. For me, because I'm a troll, I'll generally favor at least having this middle one up, the 1900 strength, because my berserking will go ahead and cover the 1900 haste from my other trinket. This is called Skada. It's like a second recount. I never really used it before the PTR, but it's got some nifty little features. It's pretty cool. Our rotation is pretty damn simple now in 4.1 and going into 4.2. It's basically just hit Outbreak, spam Obliterate, start using Frost Strikes before you get Runic Power capped, and throw out Howling Blast whenever your Rhyme procs. I'll go more in depth in the second video. When to pop your cooldowns, when to use Empower Rune Weapon, all that good stuff. But that should be just about it for this segment of our video. I'll see you guys at the next one.